Once a year, the Great Hall of the People, a vast monument to communist power, puts on a highly orchestrated show of democracy. 3,000 delegates come from all over the country to attend the annual session of China's parliament, the National People's Congress. It's a week of political theatre, a ritual endorsement of Communist Party decisions. It's also the time when the government sets out its agenda for the year. This year, Premier Wen Jiabao warned of grave difficulties ahead because of the global financial crisis.
今年是实施"十一五"规划的关键之年，也是进入新世纪以来我国经济发展最为困难的一年。改革发展稳定的任务十分繁重。
Stability is always a priority. The special concern for 2009 is that the financial crisis may create high unemployment in a year of sensitive anniversaries which could spark protests. Heading for home, delegates pour out onto Tiananmen Square, where the army shot down protesters in 1989. When the tanks rolled up to the square, they put an end to weeks of clamour for change led by student protesters. Of course, many people in China would still like to see more representative government than the sham parliament. But times have changed since 1989, and 20 years on, there's no sign of a revival of organised political protest. Students are back out on the streets. But in this year of financial crisis, young people aren't protesting, they're pounding the pavements looking for jobs. Six million students will graduate this summer in China, and competition is stiff for the class of '09. At job fairs like this one, there are far more applicants than openings. Zhang Meili says all her friends are out looking for work. Almost any job will do.
说困难也不困难，刚才我同那个朋友给我打电话，他给我找呢，就说的要高的也有，低的也有，看你能力有没有，就是那样。要不然呢，金融危机现在失业特别多，失业人群特别多，所以挺难的。反正我同学都是说现在特别不好干，我同学他们就是我们同一班的。 都是在饭店或者是旅行社干的，工资都不高，还特别累，心也累，这身体也累，为以后都不好。以后就说你干饭店的话，你觉得你年轻，你还可以干，但是你到老的时候你就不能干了，你体力跟不上了。反正还有离毕业还有几个月，2个月吧，2、3个月，到时候看看了。
Employers have never seen so many candidates. Today's young people are more adventurous and show more initiative than their predecessors, says recruiter Teng Rendong.
可能原来10几年、20几年这些大学生，这些人身上这种敢闯劲少一点，但是踏实的东西多一点。如果能把这些东西很好的整合一下，会很好。
20 years ago, most students had to take the jobs they were assigned by the government. They didn't have much experience with the market economy. Today's young people know more and expect more, but many Chinese say they've lost their idealism. Across the city from the job fair, an elderly man who's spent the past 20 years in jail or under house arrest says students have economic choices now, but no political ones. Bao Tong was secretary to the party leader Zhao Ziyang, who was toppled by hardliners in the weeks before the massacre.
责任在哪里啊？责任在学生吗？是学生自己愿意不爱自己的祖国吗？不关心自己的命运吗？我想这是逼出来的。现在大学生不敢关心国家的命运，不敢有自己的高尚的理想，这也是被逼出来的。
One increase is the export tax throwback, and
These students at Beijing University's School of Management are deeply involved in the financial crisis.
so let's see the back of this page. It's the balance sheet of the central bank. It's like because the
Finance professor Michael Pettis meets them once a week to second-guess what the Bank of China's doing.
Indeed, the informal banking sector is having trouble finding borrowers.
They're much more interested in economics than politics.
on March 3rd.
The class illustrates an important point. Students have many more choices and much more freedom than they used to have. Now, many focus on careers because they can, and most will find work.
Peking University is the #1 university for the financial services industry, the global investment banks to hire from. And that market has contracted a lot. We're still getting quite a few students getting great jobs, much less than last year and the year before. So from that point of view, there's a lot of nervousness, but it's a nervousness of lowered expectations. They're all going to get jobs. But as you go down the university system, unemployment, college unemployment is clearly rising. And there is definitely a lot of nervousness among students.
Just think about it, like if you set a target for 2% this year.
What's striking about class members like Dong Zhen is their optimism and self-confidence.
I'm really excited about the career in investment banking, although it's down and down this year, but I think it's still worth trying in that career, because I think maybe in investment banking you can focus on what's happening in the whole world.
Professor Pettis has a second life. After nightfall, he runs a rock and roll club. The club, D22, is a non-profit venture because Michael Pettis loves the music, and he wants to give young Chinese rock musicians a place to play.
China's going through a big social and cultural transformation in which more and more students are sort of questioning the values they're growing up with, and more of them are interested in literature, in music, and arts. And to a certain extent, I think, because of rising unemployment among college students, I suspect that speeds up the process in which college students start questioning exactly what kind of lives they want to live. And we've certainly seen an increasing interest in the last year or so among university and high school students around China, and especially in Beijing, who want to know more about the music scene and the art scene, and read the beatniks and Jack Kerouac and all of that.
Like rock and roll everywhere, the music embodies all the idealism and the cynicism of youth. And for this band, called Gadiao at least, rock and roll rebellion is personal, not political. Singer-guitarist Jian Pan says the government's favorite slogan, calling for a harmonious society, is fine with him.
说实话，那种反叛，我们要反叛的可是不是一个特别实体的东西。比如说我们要推翻政府什么，那都是说大话的，全都是屁。我觉得他们都是屁，应该是推翻一个你心中的一个压着你的东西，让你自己出来以后，你就会更明白了，然后去帮助别人，然后大家一起来做更好的事情，然后真正的和谐社会。
So long as they stay away from politics, Students have much more freedom and many more choices in life than they did 20 years ago. And they know enough about what happened here in 1989 to know that challenging the Communist Party is extremely dangerous. China's been changing dramatically for the past 20 years. The government insists one thing will never change, and that's Communist Party rule. Patrick Brown, CBC News, Beijing.